Joel?
It is completely illegal to tweak the company design. So be it tweaking the ECM to increase power, even if you want to add a spoiler, that is also illegal in India. The challenge with EVs is that we cannot service EVs in a conventional car workshop. So what was 20 years ago, where we used to say Ambassador cars is one of the safest cars, but it had no impact zones, it has no crumple zones, nothing. It was actually a piece of junk on the road. So from there to what we have today with the technology at hand, in automotive space, we are in par with the world. But all they say that the people who are there don't have the skills to work on an EV. As far as the emission control system is concerned, India really led the market to get the emissions control in place. And
Good day, everyone. This is Maxson Lewis, and you're watching another episode of Max on Mobility. And with me, I have one very interesting personality. His name is Joel D'Souza.
Hi.
He's also a friend of mine, but more importantly, he's a person who I call hands-on in the automotive space. Why hands-on? He's the founder of Express Autocare, a multi-brand car service center. One person whom I know in my young days, someone who is to tinker with vehicles, and someone who really understands vehicles or automotive or in a larger space mobility a lot better than many. And I'm very happy to have you here, Joel,
Thanks,
on
Max.
the hot seat, as we call it, at Max on Mobility.
Okay.
So let's do this, Joel. And this is going to be a free flow discussion of your ideas. Can you tell me about your experience? Where did you start? Because I remember you as a technology guy. And how did technology and automotive start off?
Yeah, basically, I'm a computer engineer. I worked in corporates and in different countries as IT head for about 18 years. But since childhood, my passion was something that moves on wheels. So be it a two-wheeler, be it a four-wheeler, be it a truck or a bus. So I always had this inclination that I wanted to be a mechanic right from my childhood. But thanks to the trend that time, my parents went in the flow, and instead of becoming a mechanic, I became a computer engineer. And I worked for about 18 years into corporates and all that stuff. I was heading IT departments of large companies. And one day I got bored of all that stuff and I thought of starting a business.
Okay.
So my first business was not into automotive sector. It was a software company which we started along with a good friend of mine. And that company tanked miserably. And that is the time I was into depression. I had a lot of financial liabilities on me. And after all this, I said, now I need to do something that I love to do, even though it would not benefit me or fetch me the money that I was earning while I was working. And then the concept of Express Autocare, which was there in my mind since my childhood, I started to work on it. I put together a website first, that what is my concept. So I charted my concept on the website. I approached 2 or 3 of my friends and family members for investments. And in 2015 August, we started Express Autocare.
Oh, wow. This is awesome. So now this is interesting, Joel. A lot of flavors in your experience, and I'm going to touch on a couple of them.
Okay.
Not only about the automotive piece, but also about the entrepreneurship piece.
Correct.
And the way you said about entrepreneurship, I found very interesting that you were not conscious of the fact that there was an entrepreneurship endeavor which tanked.
Correct.
You actually learned from it.
Correct.
So we are going to talk about all of those layers as we go. So I remember, Joel, you having a car, and it was one car which people used to look up to. I think it was a Maruti 800.
800,
and
right.
I think you did some tinkering with that, despite being, like I say, a IT guy. So tell us about that experience.
So that car was given to me by my company, and I already had another car. So I got one car, small car to tinker with. I was happy. And I imported a ECM from China. So I increased the power of the engine. The BHP was about 87 BHP. Obviously, the mileage was quite low. I did a lot of subtle changes in the car. It was like a race car, and I used to take part in some of the drag races as well in that car. And
In a Maruti 800?
In a Maruti 800.
Okay.
And that particular car used to clock about 145 was the last in that speedometer there, but it was to go well above 180. Okay. But to make sure that it is safe, I had upgraded my tires, brake boosters and everything. But that was just my keenness on modifying cars. So since I had a comfort of another car, so I said if something goes wrong, okay, I have another car. And this car was given by the company, so I had a chance. let me figure this out if I can do this. And I used that car for about 5 years, and I regret selling it till today. It
Okay.
was one of the best possessions I had ever in my life.
That's a true mobility buff, or yesteryears I could say a true petrol head.
Petrol head, exactly.
Now it's seen a bit negative when you say petrol head, but that's a true automotive buff sitting right here. So, and no one better than to ask a lot of the questions that I have in my mind. Is it legal to tweak vehicles, Joel?
It is completely illegal to tweak the company designs. So, be it tweaking the ECM to increase power, even if you want to add a spoiler, that is also illegal in India, because all cars are made with a design structure with thorough R&D in the company. So your aerodynamics and your comfort, your braking efficiency, everything depends upon the car design. So even if you upgrade the tire size, I feel it's illegal.
Joel, so are you telling me, see, many people put up this roll bar, or they call it a ram bar, in front of their vehicles.
Yes.
And I did read it, but I'm just checking with the expert, that is you. Yeah? So any changes, structural changes, it is illegal. That's what you're saying.
It is illegal.
So a lot of the vehicles that are running on Indian roads are probably illegal, aren't they?
Yes, they are definitely.
Oh, this is interesting. This is an insight that we have for our viewers out here, is that if you're doing any structural changes to the car, even if it means a roll bar or a ram bar, as the parents say, it would qualify as an illegal.
I'll just have a small comment on this. I have seen people who buy huge SUVs, keeping safety in mind. They spend probably crores in buying a huge SUV, and they put a roll bar in the front. But what they don't realize, by putting a roll bar in the front, your airbags in case of an impact are not going to open. So the fact that you invested so much of money in with the safety perspective is null and void.
Joel, I want you to do one thing. I want you to look at this camera and say this exactly all over again, because this is a very impactful point. So, viewers, I think Joel has a point of view. So, start off again on the SUV bit.
We have people who love cars, and to be on the safe side, they don't compromise on safety. They have money to spend, so they buy huge sedans and huge SUVs and all that stuff in safety perspective. But the mistake that they do is they put anti-impact bars in the front. And right behind the bumper of the car, you have this airbag sensors. Now, these impact bars are attached to the chassis of the car. So, in case of a frontal impact, your car's chassis is going to get damaged, and your airbag sensors are not going to get activated, and your airbags won't open. And in the process, you may lose your life. So, you buy a car worth 80 lakhs, 1 crore, and you add an accessory worth 10,000-12,000 rupees, and that is going to kill you.
So, what you're telling, Joel, is typically people don't realize that some of the accessories that are available in the market can actually not only make your car illegal, but they also can be a safety risk.
Exactly.
Right?
They become very dangerous.
This is a very impactful statement. So I think it's important then for people to actually know the reality, because unfortunately people don't realize all of this. And that's one of the reasons why, Joel, there's going to be some more incisive questions, because you understand automotive like that's your DNA. And also you come from a technology background.
Exactly.
Right? So one of the things I've always wanted to do, I mean, in my past life before Magenta, I was also a super biker, as they say. And many people tweak the ECM, they tweak the BHP. What about that? Would that also qualify as a, illegal change?
Absolutely.
It does.
Again, as I told you, a bike or a car is made up by a lot of research and development. They undergo thorough testing on their test circles and also on the roads across the country.
Okay.
And braking power, engine power is all relative to each other. So if you tweak the engine power and if your braking power is not enough, you're gone. So any kinds of structural changes, like putting a bull bar, putting a spoiler, increasing the height of the tires, putting a much fatter or a much wider alloys, this is all illegal because it destructs the design of the car.
So what you're trying to tell me is that the OEMs know best. The cars are designed for a certain parameters and all the parameters considered. And if you're tweaking any of it, it's actually... So unfortunately, then a lot of Indians who kind of boast that they are upgrading their tires or putting a lot of accessories, somehow is falling in the space of illegality. That's what you're saying.
A small example I'll give you. We are getting a Hyundai Creta launched maybe next month. It's the same engine, same electronics, just the body structure is different. But before the launch, the car has gone extensive testing in the company circuit and also across India, different cars, different weathers. Now everything is same, just the cosmetics, the body, the headlights and all that stuff is different. But yet it undergoes that rigorous testing so that when it comes on the market, when people buy it, they don't have any safety issues. So a tried and tested engine is again tested and again given all those trials for people to be safe. And when we get the car and we tweak its ECM, tweak the power, tweak engine, the entire aspect of safety is lost.
Okay, this is a very interesting piece, Joel, and I thank you for bringing this up to on this conversation. Right. So for those of you all who are planning to upgrade their car by not really buying a new vehicle, I think it's better to check what are the rules, laws in place. And I think the more and more the government is also bringing a lot of digitization into space. A lot of the regulations, rules and regulations are going to fall in place, are getting enforced in place. And that time, someone.
Unfortunately, social media has made the world very small. There are a lot of awareness things that are going around. The government is pushing a lot of awareness things. So more or less, people who are into technology, who have a smartphone and who follow these pages, they know about all these things being illegal. And that's the reason in a country like India, the capital city, Delhi, even the side guards on a scooter is not allowed. So that's also illegal. So things are now getting streamlined. People are getting aware of things, and hopefully the accident rates pertaining to these kind of modifications will come down.
I'm going to come to that accident also. Just a quick question, just for my, are you a Team BHP member?
No, not yet.
Not
I
yet.
didn't get through.
You didn't get
I've been trying since years, but I didn't get through.
Okay. So let's talk about the evolution of automotive, because you have studied it hands-on, like I say, right? And unlike many people who are now trying to understand, what do you think are in the last 20 years in the automotive space are some very specific innovations or something you felt that are game changers that have happened? 2 or 3 instances or more?
There are many things that have changed in the automotive space, especially when it comes to technology. ICE, that is internal combustible engines. We had a carburetor-based engine. Then we came to multi-point fuel injector system, computerized ECM running the system. Now, thankfully, to our transport minister, we migrated from BS4 directly to BS6, which entailed a lot of changes in the design and the system of the engine. So a lot of electronic sensors came into place than mechanical components, and that helped reduce the emissions. And now we are recently gone into BS 6.2. What has happened with the electronic influx, the dependency on mechanical components has reduced. Of course, it has a flip side as well. But these days, with all this stuff, it is much easier to service a car per se because everything is electronic, digital. So all you need is a good diagnostic scanner to scan the car, and you know which sensor exactly has gone wrong, and you change the sensor and the car is back on the road. So what was 20 years ago, we used to say ambassador cars are one of the safest cars, but it had no impact zones, it has no crumple zones, nothing. It was actually a piece of junk on the road. So from there to what we have today with the technology at hand, in automotive space, we are in par with the world. We have the Germans, who are the number ones in the automotive space, have their manufacturing plants in India. And now they're exporting from India to other countries, manufacturing here. So India, in our country, automotive space, the technology is the latest. First, we had people like some car companies to dump their old technology cars in India, but it's now not like that. Our new technology cars are getting manufactured in India and getting exported outside the country.
That's a great point, Joel. I remember, earlier we used to wait for the car launches used to happen years ago in other countries. Then India used to get those cars maybe delayed by 2 years, 3 years.
Exactly.
Now it's concurrent launches.
Yes.
And that's a very interesting point because I think we have evolved. But one important point for our viewers out there, you talked about BS4, BS6. Think of me as a layman. And what is BS4, BS6, BS6?
This is emission norms. So BS4 is Bharat stage. We had like Euro norms, which is there. So for India, we have Bharat stage 4 and Bharat stage 6. So the emissions that come out from your exhaust pipe, which harms the environment, is something that we had to look after. So the pollutants that is there in those system, that has to be reduced. So the government, especially in the European Union, they put a class. So we have Euro emissions 3, emissions 4, emissions 5. So across the world, people migrated to emissions 5, but India was the only country who migrated from Bharat stage 4 to stage 6 directly. So all the game-changing companies like the German companies, they had to invest a lot more money in Indian manufacturing and also back home where they are parenting to come to the norms of BS6. So as far as the emission control system is concerned, India really led the market to get the emissions control in place. And fortunately, with those things in come, now we have got 6.2, next stage of the stage 6. The emissions are really under control. Apart from the diesel vehicles, of course, but as far as the pollution that was mitigating from the cars have really gone down, thanks to the vision of our Transport Minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari.
Joel, this is an important and interesting point. So I made a point earlier that we were lagging in terms of new vehicles being launched. Now you're saying that our emission norms are driving a lot of R&D internationally as well.
Exactly.
I think it's a matter of pride for us all, especially people like you who've been in this space for so long. So, and this is and in that journey of the technology, and you talked about the emissions, and hence let me bring you to the hot topic of the season, as they say, is electric vehicles. So what's your independent take on electric vehicles? Where are they heading?
Well, I recently posted an article on LinkedIn and Facebook about Robin Atkinson, the Mr. Bean, who mentioned the honeymoon with the EVs is over. And I posted that and I got some comments on it. Yes, I would definitely say the honeymoon with the EVs is over, but honeymoon comes after a marriage. So marriage is going to last. So no matter, there is always a resistance to new technology, but the point that we are trying to make in EV is in India, we don't have self-sufficient energy. So to generate energy, we have to burn coal. So with the EVs coming in, like EV two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, even the huge buses and commercial trucks also are in the EV space. When these people all come together, the need of energy is going to get very high. And from where this need is going to get fulfilled. So you're going to burn more coal. So the entire idea of environmental offset damage is not going to happen. On the contrary, it is going to go more. But one thing is for sure, the import bill, our dependency on fossil fuels with the foreign countries is going to come down. So our fiscal deficit is going to go down. So our economy is going to improve. So I look at it at that stage. When diesel cars came, like the old Ambassador was running with petrol and people used to put Matador Tempo engines in the diesel cars because of the higher fuel efficiency and all. But there was a lot of resistance to it. When LPG came, when CNG came as a complement to petrol cars, again there was a resistance. But eventually it took over the market. But for EV, it's a completely different infrastructure that is required, which is lacking in our country. But having said that, there are a lot of people, a lot of companies who have seen the vision, people like you who have invested in Magenta to create an ecosystem for EV. And EVs are going to come in and the future is EV. But that doesn't mean that petrol is going to go out of action or out of fashion. So this will complement both as the petrol and diesel cars are there in the market. So petrol and EV will be there in the market. As of today, the greatest challenge for EVs is not running on the roads or charging. People say this range anxiety and all that stuff. Yes, range anxiety is there. That is preliminary. But being an owner of a car service center, I can say you the greatest challenge today for EV owners are service of EV vehicles.
Oh, now, Joel, let me stop you there. The way EVs are being pitched is there is the number of components is lesser. From 20,000 components, that's now 2,000 components. I'm just giving you a magnitude of scale. And then service of EV is not an issue. I think you are one of the very few people who are saying that service is an issue. So let me just break it down and just what exactly is the issue? And
well, if anybody knows EV, EV vehicle is made up of electric motors, main motor and many ancillary motors. It has a suspension system, it has a braking system, it has a steering system, and it has a lot of cooling fluids and oils that go through it. So anybody having the concept that there is no maintenance with EV is thoroughly wrong. He is wrong. The challenge with EVs is that we cannot service EVs in a conventional car workshop. Because for anything that has to be done with EV, for example, if there's an accident with the EV and it has to be dented and painted, so it has to go to a denting and painting workshop where you have got gas welding systems, you have got compressor systems and all that. And if the battery of the EV is not completely discharged, you're in for a huge blast. One day or the other it will happen. And it has happened with Tesla, it has happened in the US. And that's the reason in the US now the norm is that all the EV workshops should be outside the city, not in residential areas.
Oh, this is a very interesting point. Yes. Go ahead, Joel.
I recently happened to be one of the dealers. I went to meet the general manager's service and I saw EV being hauled up on a normal 2-post lift. And when I went to the guy there who was hauling the car up and asked, did you do electric discharge? So he didn't know what is electric discharge. And he was using the same RAM that he's using for petrol and diesel cars and putting the car up. Now there is a battery array on the downside of that. And all he did was he disconnected the battery terminal, he put the car up, he put a torch, he checked, brought the car down, he jacked the battery again, the car service is done. But this is, as a car service industry person, this is not the way EVs have to be serviced.
Okay.
It has a lot of electric components. Like what happens if you use a mobile for a long time? It either hangs up, it becomes hot. What do we do with the mobile? We restart it.
You start, right?
So very often these people just restart the vehicle and get it done. But the fundamental problem of the vehicle is not sorted. And that's the reason the reliability factor of EVs today is a great question mark.
There, I totally agree with you, because there's a sense of lack of confidence, if I were to put it, from a range perspective. But range is a different point. I love the fact that you brought up the service aspect of it. And I mean, like me, there are many people who always thought that, okay, it's the same service center you go to, you give your EV and come back. So you raised the point that the service of an EV is very different from a traditional ICE engine service. And that's one key takeaway for me. And I'm going to elaborate on that. Now, this brings me to a question around the service that you provide at Express Autocare. And how, let's say, let's take this question. What do you do at Express Autocare?
Well, Express Autocare is a multi-brand car service center. So right from a Tata Nano to a BMW or a Range Rover, we service, detail, repair, denting, painting, everything in cars we do.
Okay.
So that's a kind of a concept workshop that I have put up, because essentially one of the great dishonest industry in India is a car service industry.
Okay.
So something to do for the people, to get people their value of money is something that I started this about 9 years ago, and I am glad I have achieved it. And when we come, if you ask me about EV, so far we haven't worked on any EVs.
Okay.
There are a lot of disgruntled customers who come to us from the company service centers, that company service centers are not skilled enough to service my car. There's a problem with the car. So all we have a scanner, we run the scans, and if there are errors, we remove those errors. But we cannot do anything with EVs because we don't have the infrastructure.
Okay.
So as preparation for the future, we have recently leased out about 12,000 square feet of land and a shed outside the city of where I am. And there we are going to get expertise of EV electronic engineers who will be working on EVs, on servicing motors and whatever associated with EVs.
Okay.
So the first thing I did, because I saw the pattern, the trend that is happening in the US, who started the EV. And if you want to do something in EV, the safety is the paramount factor. Safety of the customer's car, safety of my team who will be working on the car. So we cannot have such things in the residential area.
Okay.
So far we haven't worked on EV, but we are future prepared. The first thing that we've done is acquire a land, build a shed, build a warehouse, and we just started it 8 days ago. And now we'll be tying up with some companies for EV service part of that.
Joel, congratulations. And I think this is a great part of the ecosystem. So for a person, and to be honest, Joel, I always thought of you as like I say, right, not so optimistic about EV. But I'm going to change that statement. And I believe that you are as optimistic, but you are safely, consciously optimistic. I would want to put it that way. That would be the right thing for
me. I would just like to make a statement. Most of my customers ask me, should I buy an EV now?
Okay.
And I always tell them, we are a good 2 years away from a mature EV industry.
Okay.
So hang on for 2 years. And after 2 years, when you buy a EV, you'll never have reliability factors.
Okay.
Neither range anxiety, because you'll have that infrastructure that is coming up. You'll not have a problem with service because skill sets will get upgraded, and the car technology is going to change. Because I personally believe that all the EV companies today are doing the research and development at the cost of the public.
Okay.
So they have rolled out the cars in the market and they are taking market feedback, and then they are altering their designs and techniques and all that stuff. And this will happen for another 1 or 2 years, and probably after 2 years we'll have a mature EV industry. And today I just read that Tata had a 49% growth in their EV sales compared to last year. I presume in another 7 to 8 years we'll have about 50% EVs on the road. So EVs and petrols are going to complement each other. Diesels will be out of the market.
You made a very interesting but a very strong point. You kind of mentioned that the automotive service industry is one of the dishonest industries. Personally, yes, I do relate to that. The fact that whenever we give our vehicles out for service, there more often than not a lot of question on the entire billing. Why ye kyun, why this has happened, why is it though? But do you think, you want to double down on that point that you made about the dishonesty in this industry, the service, automotive service industry?
Absolutely. What happened is when I was in the Middle East, I got promoted as soon as I got my driving license. So I was driving across the Middle East with my car because driving was my passion. So obviously with that kind of heat and that kind of roads, we need to have our cars at optimum level. That is where my tryst with the car service started. So I had 4 different cars, and every time I used to go to the service center, I used to see the service aspects myself.
Okay.
That was one of my conditions, that if I come to the workshop, then I should see everything myself. Because I used to travel long distances, 1,000 kilometers. On highways, we have nobody else apart from camels and deserts. So I needed to make sure that my car is optimum, doesn't break down. When I shifted back to India, I got into a corporate job. I got a car from the company, so the company was managing the service aspect of it. When I started my business, I got my own car, and that is where, when I went to the workshops, I figured out what is happening in the workshop. So twice I didn't tell them that I know everything about cars, and I asked them certain questions they were not able to answer. And you won't believe, about 60 to 65% of my bill was waived off because that was cheating.
Okay.
And what I did next was
and these are branded OEMs,
company service centers. And later on, what I did, I took my sister's car, my brother's car, to 2 different workshops. So one is a run-of-the-mill roadside mechanic, one to the authorized company service center. And again, both the places I didn't tell them what I know about, and both the places I got cheated. I spent a lot of money, but I wanted an experience for myself. And that is where this concept started kicking in.
Okay.
Like, I always wanted to be a mechanic. Always wanted to be a owner of a car workshop.
Okay.
And I had lost a lot of money in a software business. I was doing nothing. I was a depressed soul, and I didn't know what to do. And in between, all this happened. And then I said, this is the best time to start what I wanted. So again, raising capital, raising investment, getting into business was a challenge. But people who knew me for the love of my cars, they said, this is your calling, this you should do, and they happily invested money with me.
Okay.
And that is how Express Autocare got going. The first thing that we did, because we know the entire industry is dishonest, what we did, like when my workshop was small at the beginning, we had 4 service bays. And above every service bay, I put a camera.
Okay.
And every time the customer used to come with his car, we used to release in the camera feed live. So if you don't have time to come to the workshop, install this app on your smartphone, and you get to see what's happening with your car from the time the car has come in until the time that car has gone out. So that was a game changer.
Okay.
Eventually, when we used to give this, because I had the central control of the console of the web application, hardly any people used to log in. That is the kind of trust that was generated.
Okay.
And today, with word of mouth, my workshop is in a metropolitan area of Mumbai, in Kalyan, at one end of the city. It's at a remote corner. But I have more than 5,000 customers over the last 9 years. I am able to draw customers from as far as Pune and Nasik, who are my loyal customers who come for car service. So people who love their cars can go to any lane to service their cars. And the kind of transparency that we have maintained, we got our own proprietary app, we share videos, we share photographs. We give the option to people that this is where the spare parts are available. If you want, you can buy it yourself. So we are not a hard and fast key. You have to take everything from us. You just pay us our labor charges. So everything you get if you want. But if you don't have time, if you want us to pick up the car, drop the car, do everything, we'll also do it for you.
So Joel, you are saying that I think this is probably the first in India where if I were to give a car to you for service, I could download your app and actually check what's happening with my car sitting in my office or at my home.
Exactly.
Second, I love the point that you talked about transparency. Correct. Second, you made the point about the ability for me to buy the spare parts and just, so this was like an open kind of, you're just opening up the books to everyone. Exactly. And I think that's where you try to rebuild the trust which was lost out in the automotive service space, which is the dishonesty to a transparency, full-scale transparency.
I had a very small space, about 1,200 square feet.
Okay.
The way I designed my workshop was, I kept my office at the rear end. So I wanted people to walk in through the entire workshop and see what is happening, and then come and see the service organizer or the billing system and come and see me. So this kind of concept was not there in the market anywhere. And the run-of-the-mill workshop garages, they have a 100 square feet shop, a tin shop to keep their spanners and all that stuff. They work on the roads. And then there are company service centers, and there are few organized multi-brand centers. But again, everywhere these things happen. So this was a game changer, and that is how the word of mouth spread, the transparency level that we kept. Then the local police approached us once, and they said that you cannot release the camera footage of your private property.
Okay.
It's an intrusion. So what we did, we request the customers that a car for an Indian family is an emotion.
Yes.
It's a loved, beloved family member. So, and I always tell them, when a family member is sick or needs medical attention, don't you take a day off? Yes, we do. We take a day off. So please take a day off for your car service.
Okay.
Come spend time with us, have tea, coffee, sandwiches with us, and see your car being worked upon personally. And that will build your trust on your vehicle, reliability of your vehicle. We do our quality job, but reliability of your vehicle depends upon when you see what is happening with your vehicle. So this again was a game-changing thing, and people opted for that initially, but then the trust got so high, now nobody's bothered. They just pick up the car. They ask to pick up the car, and they say, don't even call for approvals for any further jobs. Just do it, send the car with the bill, we'll transfer the money. So this is the kind of reputation we have created for us.
So this is an interesting piece. So for those of you who want to get your car service, your personal family member, as Joel put it, service, you can actually have it sent across to Joel at Express Autocare. And also you could spend time there and understand it a bit better. But coming to this point about the fact, Joel, is this you did in the, I would call it the ice age, really speaking. What are your plans to the oncoming, wave of EVs? How is Express Autocare geared up for that?
Okay. As I initially stated that we have already taken a piece of land outside the city, and I'm following trends of service of the game changer EVs Tesla, and how Teslas are serviced is what I'm doing following. So basically, you cannot use a run-of-the-mill two-post lift to lift up the car, or just a mechanic without any discharge kit with him. So you need to have a complete armor for a mechanic to work on a EV.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that armor is not available in India till now, even though the influx of EVs is so high. So I hope very soon it will be available. So any technician who has to work on an EV has to put on that armor.
So are you saying that our OEMs who are selling EVs in India, and like you rightly said, the inflection is coming soon for us, are a bit underprepared to service EVs?
Exactly.
Is that a statement you want to make?
Because what happens is many of my customers who have gone for EVs, they get frustrated when they don't get proper service from the company's showrooms, and then they come to us.
Okay.
And all I ask them, your car is under warranty, there's nothing that we can do, because we encourage our customers that as long as the car is under warranty, get your service done with the authorized workshops, not with outside. But all they say that the people who are there don't have the skills to work on an EV.
And I empathize with you, or rather relate to this, is because when I have tried to go and buy the EVs also, there's a certain lack of understanding. I mean, it's increasing, but there's a lack of this sales effort towards selling EV. But many people don't see the underbelly, which is the service side of it. And today you're opening it up about the fact that in the EV service also, there needs to be an absolutely overhaul, as they say, in the world of automotive, in the service side of EVs. This is a great effort that you're saying, and you told me that you've invested in buying a piece of land which is outside city limits, in line with how it should be. What else are you doing to get yourself ready, or Express Autocare ready for the wave of EVs that are coming to?
Okay. Honestly, Maxson, we are a small fish in a large pond right now. So we have recently tied up with T-Serve. T-Serve is a Toyota initiative of a multi-brand car service franchise. And Toyota is going to train us for hybrid vehicles service as well as EV vehicles, which will be coming up.
Okay.
So since I have signed up as a franchisee as them, I expect full-on training. Toyota comes with quality, so quality training for my team and staff. As I said, the first part I have already done, taken up the land. Now I have to build the infrastructure, so discharge kit, a lot of things that I need to procure, and probably another 1.5 year will be fully EV-enabled workshop. So there is a lot of time for it. It's a huge game-changing situation that we are talking about, but it will happen eventually, and it has to happen soon.
So this is an interesting point. Like earlier, they used to have branded service centers for vehicles, for ICE vehicles. And then there will be multi-branded as well. So can the OEMs right now who are also selling EVs, can they reach out to you, tie up with you?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I have been doing a lot of research on this. If you see the data, about 64% people go back to company service centers.
Okay.
One of the reasons is they don't have an option. People who buy high-end premium cars, they believe that the technicians at the company service centers are well equipped to handle my cars and not outside. Fair enough. Then there are about 34% people who go to roadside mechanics.
Okay.
And there are less than 2% people who go to organized multi-brand car workshops.
Okay.
So I am in that 2% segment
very small
now.
segment.
Very small. But going ahead, as I see the dynamics of the car industry, I had told about this in one of my coaching programs about 2 years ago. Soon we won't have real showrooms of cars. We'll have virtual reality showrooms of cars. So you just plug in into the laptop which car you want to take a trial.
Okay.
You put a scenario, you want to climb a mountain, you want to drive on a highway, you want to drive in a city of potholes, and you'll have equipment that will come along with, so your accelerator, brake, your steering wheel is taken care of, and you have a VR device and you take a trial drive. You book the car online and your car is delivered to your home. This is going to save a lots and lots of cost for dealers because showrooms, overheads, people, and eventually if there are no showrooms, then dealer workshops also will lessen. But the future is, like it is happening in the West, enabling or empowering multi-brand car workshops. So if the OEMs look at this way, they are going to benefit a lot because the skill set that we have, because we are working on multi-brand, we are not working on one set of cars, one company of cars. We work on different brands. So our skill set is much, much higher than what people are there in the workshops.
Okay.
So eventually, probably in another 5 to 6 years, I see this happening. There are few companies, big companies, Japanese companies have seen this. They have started all their multi-brand car service initiative, tying up with like-minded people, tying up with garages who have a good name and good reputation. Like we have a tie-up with T-Serve, and this is going to be the future.
In fact, I would put it the other way. For a company, let's say who's there, as compared to ICE, there are a lot lesser EVs at this point in time. And that time for me to set up, if I am an OEM, to set up my own dedicated EV service centers would be slightly difficult. So for any OEM out there, I think Express Autocare just makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Because you already have that captive knowledge. Just the fact that you're working across multi-brands, I would think of it as a positive. But this is where I have a question, Joel, largely in this space. And you mentioned about the need for specialized services in the EV space. Now, there is a contrarian view. Okay. Many people think, and many people are scared in the service center world or in the automotive service world. Listen, the more the EVs on the road, a lot of businesses and jobs are going to go out. The service industry is going to go out. I know you touched upon this point. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to say about that? Many people fearing the fact that a lot of these garages, as we call them, or the automotive service centers are going to go out of business as more EVs are on the road. What's your take?
Well, one thing I would like to mention is change is the only constant. And if you don't get up for change, you'll be a loser. In the late 80s, when computers came to India, everybody said we are going to lose jobs. But every new industry brings with its sets of jobs. So if EV is going to come, EV is not going to self-service. EV also needs proper attention. And on the contrary, I would say a car which is based on completely embedded technology, electronics needs more attention than a car that is running on petrol and diesel.
Okay.
So the trip to the service centers are probably going to be quarterly or half yearly than conventionally 1 year for ICE engine cars. So what you need to do, like I tell my technicians, if you don't get up to learn today, if you don't have a learning inclination right now, you're going to be out of job.
Okay.
So I have taken the pains to address this issue. I am giving them some technical trainings on EVs. So all my technicians have undergone the first 2-3 levels of electronic vehicle component testing and all this stuff. And because now they know, so if you want to remain in the market, you will not go out of job. Definitely no. Service industry will be there, but you need to upskill yourself.
This is interesting. It's like the typical IT industry, information technology.
Exactly.
If you wanted to stay in your job, you needed to upgrade and upskill yourself.
Exactly.
So in the EV space also, that's something which is happening. This is where, Joel, I'm going to move the needle to something beyond EVs.
Okay.
And the fact that